Today we do the movie that the catchphrase of the year is coming from. Look at my tits comes from this movie. Murdercise. The touching tale of an aerobics video gone wrong as one of the people starts killing everyone. It starts out with a woman doing aerobics and then going to her house to take a shower where we get to see her tits. So we know this is a good movie because there are boobs less than 10 minutes into the movie. And that always indicates a good movie. Then she hears a noise, so she calls the police, and officers show up almost immediately. So we know this is not a realistic movie. But then she realizes, then the police say, the dispatcher says he hasn't sent police there yet, and the police strangle her to death. So we know there are killers on the loose in this movie. And we get into the actual movie. And we get introduced to all the ladies' names, who I remember all but one of them. And our main heroine, Phoebe, who is the most uptight, whiny main heroine in any movie. Well, except maybe the television show Friends, because those women were kind of uptight and evil. But who the hell watches Friends? I mean, that show is just bad. I'm not going into Friends. So they're doing an aerobics video, and they're shooting it like an 80s aerobics video, which is kind of like a porn. Let's face facts, a lot of men jerked off to 80s aerobics videos with women in them. And then they take a break. And Phoebe yells at one lady for eating fast food. The lady with the biggest tits, Candy, flirts with Chuck, who wants nothing else to do but change the lights in the room to get her a soda. And Phoebe's like, they're full of perverts. Because Candy is an actress. Two of the girls are strippers. The one girl is a wrestler in mud or jello or whatever else they have a wrestle in. And then we meet our financier, a lady from the mafia. Don't worry, we get to see her tits later too, though she is like 60. This movie is filled with tits. It is overflowing with tits. We don't get to see Phoebe's tits, which is kind of a letdown, because so we get to see Candy's tits, and Candy has really big tits. So I go to work out again, and so we meet the financier, and she says she wants her daughter in the picture. Now, her daughter is kind of a rebel. She smokes cigarettes, she introduces everyone to weed, and they decide to party while Gino, the head guy, is out making sure the pawn shop hasn't sold his watch yet. And that Candy puts in her movie, where she dies in the first 5 minutes, and it's a low grade B horror movie, much like the one we're watching. Well, Isabella tells Phoebe that if she wants to be in charge, but Gino did leave her in charge and she wants to prove it, she needs to slap somebody around. So Candy flirts with Chuck and brings him in a room with her in order to sleep with her. Candy lifts up her shirt, showing Chuck her tits, but Chuck refuses. And we get a 5-minute long yelling for Candy to get Chuck to look at her tits. And this is the famous look at my tits scene. This scene is one of the most traumatic scenes in horror history, where a man refuses to look at a woman's tits. Because let's face facts, if tits were on a tree, a man would look at them and feel them up. So it is kind of an unrealistic scene. Then Chuck leaves and Phoebe comes in, and Candy once again reveals her tits and tells Phoebe to look at her tits. Candy likes the tits that she bought and paid for. So Phoebe murders Candy. Isabella comes in. Phoebe does not admit it, though Isabella has figured it out that Phoebe is a murderer. Gino comes in, and they say, well, Candy's dead. So Isabella arranges it for the body to get disappeared, and they go on with the shoot, with Gino promising Phoebe the cover model spot. But the girls bitch and whine, as girls do, that they should be better, because the one's a wrestler and she's in better shape. The other two are strippers and they're in better shape. And Isabella doesn't care one way or another. So they decide there's going to be a competition for who gets in the cover model shoot. Private videos for each of them, which Gino will look at later. Now, Phoebe says she doesn't have a chance, but Isabella makes her over into a hottie. Now, Phoebe was already a hottie. She just has small tits, which I still want to see, by the way. So Phoebe's nervous. So Isabella offers her a tiny bit of cocaine. Phoebe turns it down because what would President Reagan say? This movie, by the way, takes place in the 80s. If I haven't said that already. Well, Isabella assures her that Reagan and Nancy Reagan wouldn't care. So Phoebe takes a buttload of cocaine. And then they shoot the new workout video with Phoebe in front because she killed the one lady. She killed the wrestler with a steel chair, which is how all wrestlers, I imagine, dream of dying. And Phoebe does aerobic exercises that I've never seen any aerobic exercise person do before, like humping the floor and rolling around while grabbing your ankles. It is truly a sight that I've never seen before, and I will try these exercises because I'm sure to lose weight, humping the floor and rolling on my belly while grabbing my ankles behind my back. Then they decide to go into the private shoots, and Phoebe's nervous. And one girl goes back first who's a stripper and does a striptease. Then Phoebe goes back, and the guy says, what are you going to show for me? Show your tits. He doesn't say show your tits. He goes, what are you going to show for me? Phoebe loses it and kills the guy with a camera lens. And then the lady who just came in and did the private dance freaks out and runs outside and sees a couple cops. But it's the cops that strangled the lady at the beginning. And brings them in, and Phoebe hides. Well, she comes back and says she brought the cops. Gino says he's going to have to talk them out of showing up. But the cops come in and raise hell. They break up Mike, the director, who's making out with the mob lady, as the mob lady requested when we got to see her tits many, many times. And they put everyone in the main room and take the stripper lady who first reported it into the one room and strangle her. And he hears Phoebe and tells her to stay put and don't do anything stupid. Well, Phoebe runs away and runs into Chuck, who's planning on putting on a hockey mask and coming out with a chainsaw to cause a distraction. Because, I don't know, that seems like a good idea to cause a distraction with cops. Because getting shot is always a distraction. Now, Phoebe decides after meeting with Chuck that she has to go back. So she grabs Chuck's hammer and hits the cop that looks like Samoa Joe on the head, saving Isabella. And then they save Isabella's mom, the mafia lady. And the cop that was in the room with Isabella's mom comes back and looks at Samoa Joe and gets him up. And sends Samoa Joe out to find the girls. But Gino steals the one guy's gun and shoots him. Shoots his ear off. But not before Mike gets some ribs broken. And then they kill Samoa Joe with the claw end of the hammer. And then Phoebe runs into the other guy, who's strangling her, but she manages to get away. But it comes down to a confrontation again between him and Phoebe. And that's when Chuck, the electrician, shows up with his chainsaw, but the chainsaw dies. He knocks Chuck down and is about to stab him. And Phoebe gets the chainsaw working and cuts off the killer's fingers. And then saws his head in half. In a bloody, violent mess. I mean, I personally would aim for the guts, or the chest, or not really sawing the head in half with a chainsaw. Because, well, that seems like it'd be a lot harder than aiming for the chest or something. But anyways. And then they decide Phoebe should be the cover girl. At least the mafia lady does. And Gino agrees because, well, she's financing the aerobics video. And they shoot the aerobics video with just Isabella and Phoebe. At least I'm assuming they shoot the aerobics video with just Isabella and Phoebe because they got to shoot the thing again. Because all the other girls are dead. And Phoebe's the cover girl. And they invite Phoebe to join the mafia family. And tells her to call her mom. And then at the end, we see Phoebe introducing Phoebe Aerobics. Giving us the Phoebe lifestyle. This is a pretty good movie. I mean, it's got the classic B-movie acting. It's got the classic B-movie violence. It's got tons of tits. It's got tits you don't even want to see tits. So this is a good movie. It's called Murdercise. It's on Tubi. I give it 12 out of 10 stars. Check it out. Murdercise on Tubi. Great movie. Lots of tits. Lots of tits always make a great movie. Next week, we go back to the Universal Monster movies of The Wolfman. Check it out.